Okay, every single day I say this, and every single day I try my best. I'm going to try to do these later, but I literally can't wait. I just want to get this live stream underway. I've been drafting these teams literally all day as I write our 2022 fantasy football draft guide. So I'm like, let's go live. Let's answer some Dynasty questions. Let's talk some Dynasty strategy. Let's go through some Dynasty trade values as we have an underdog draft in the background, of course. And if you missed this live and you're watching this as a video later on, please make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button. I already know that you're subscribed, but if you want to come out to these live streams and to get into drafts with us, if you want to come get all your questions answered, just make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you do know when we go live. But I think that should be it. Let's go ahead and let's jump in to this lobby. We are going to be hopping into a puppy draft here. It's going to be the $5 buy-in, $75,000 to first. First place gets paid in your 12-team league. Second place gets paid in your 12-team league. And then that $75,000 comes in play whenever we're looking at the playoff tournament at the very end. Let me go through and pull up the live chat so we can start talking some Dynasty strategy and trade. And oh dear God, we have a lot of people reaching out. We have Derek, Zach, Cecil, Thomas, Ethan, Kyle, Batman Gaming, Alberto, Ethan, Pasha, Taryn Clout, Hunter, Godfather, Jared, and different Jared, Lucky Share, Steven, Andrew, Brian, Fantasy Football Atomic, and Jaden. Thank y'all for coming out to the live stream. I do appreciate y'all. Let's get into these questions. Our first one coming out from Terrence is, Mason, when are you going to collaborate with Ray G? Hey, tell him to reach out to me. If y'all want to see that, tell him to reach out to me. Okay, so our next question coming out from Hunter says, price you would trade Jerry Judy at? With Jerry Judy, I mean, if we're talking this upcoming season, I actually think on Underdog, he's being a little bit overvalued. He's being drafted as I believe the wide receiver 19, as a mid wide receiver 2 right now for this upcoming season in redraft. In my opinion, that is ridiculous. But if you go over, like, the funniest thing, I love looking at this because on Underdog Fantasy, which is what we're drafting on in the background, these are real money leagues. There have already been, probably if you look at Best Ball Mania and the puppy combined, hundreds of thousands of dollars drafted here. Hundreds of thousands of dollars drafted with these teams. So ADP is valuable here. Now, of course, you can't just agree with all of ADP, but we can compare that to keep trade cut and see how the overall Dynasty fantasy football community values a player. And if you look at on Underdog Fantasy, Jerry Judy currently going as a wide receiver 19. Let me pull up keep trade cut just so we can get an idea of where Jerry Judy's going. But you would assume, okay, Jerry Judy's 23 years old. He came out of Alabama at an extremely young age. This is someone that should continue to get better through the upcoming years. He's going as wide receiver 13, wide receiver 12. I mean, he's being drafted as wide receiver 19 in redraft. No, he's being drafted as the wide receiver 23, one spot before Elijah Moore in Dynasty leagues. In my opinion, that is crazy. I mean, I am personally going to be going through and taking Jerry Judy in Dynasty and fading him in redraft based on his projected career arc over the next 5 years. Like, I would love to take Terry McLaurin. I would love to take Devontae Smith. I'd love to take Jameson Williams. I'd love to take Garrett Wilson. I'd love to take any of those players who are ranked ahead of Jerry Judy currently on Keep Trade Cut and just go ahead and move them for Jerry Judy. Like, what happens if the drafters on Underdog are correct and he ends up being a mid wide receiver 2 this upcoming season? If he's a mid wide receiver 2 this upcoming season, where is he going in Dynasty drafts? He's probably going to end up as a low end wide receiver 1 in Dynasty based on his age and based on that production. At least I would assume so. You have Russell Wilson attached to him for the long term. Okay. And real quick, let me give a shout out to everybody out here. We have almost 100 people in the live chat. If you have not dropped a like, make sure you go down there, drop that like ASAP. Let's find our next question. This is going to be coming out from Lucky Share. Says a Drake London and a late 2023 first. Okay, so I'm saying if you're getting Drake London and a 2023 first, I'm going to be very excited. Don't care if you think it's late, if you think it's early, versus Cooper Kupp. Honestly, give me Drake London in the first round pick. Cooper Kupp is one of the very rare wide receivers that, yes, does have league breaking upside. You saw Cooper Kupp last year in redraft have a win rate close to 33%. But if we're talking dynasty fantasy football and for a player to be able to continue to increase their own trade value, I think that you have a much better shot at that with Drake London this upcoming season, where if London can post a top 24 year, somehow, some way, Drake London goes out there and posts a top 24 season, and you're getting a 2023 first, there's an outside chance that London and Cooper Kupp are going in the same round of startup drafts next year whenever Cooper Kupp's pushing 30. Okay. So our next question coming out from Andrew says, Chris Olave or Sky Moore? I am personally going to go through and prefer Chris Olave because he is a much, much, much better prospect, in my opinion. If you look at the production that he had at Ohio State in 2020. Now, if you look at redraft leagues, redraft players are taking Sky Moore a couple rounds ahead of Chris Olave because it's obviously a beautiful situation. You couldn't ask for a better situation right now than what you have in Kansas City. I've historically been a Jerry Judy fan, but Jerry Judy getting paid $2.5 million this upcoming season. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, just a field stretching option at the receiver position. A lot of smart people would say Sky Moore. I'm willing to just go with the talent because it's dynasty fantasy football over the situation and go with Chris Olave. Now, Brian says, where do you feel Lamar Jackson will go in drafts? If you're talking about a 12-team Superflex dynasty startup, Lamar Jackson's going to go in the middle to the end of the first round. If you're talking about a 2022 redraft league, Lamar Jackson's going to be going in the middle of the fifth. Okay, so now Fantasy Football Atomic says, I got Michael Pittman for my 2023 first in a pure win now move. Should I flip him before the season starts? I personally would look to flip Michael Pittman. You're going to see Michael Pittman go off in the middle of the third in this draft. And I think that's personally crazy. If you look at Michael Pittman, he was a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3 on a points per game basis last season. Now, I agree. Yes, that's going to improve. He's not going to be a wide receiver 3 again. He's not. And I know a lot of people are spazzing going, oh my God, Mason. No, he was not a high-end wide. Go look at the actual numbers. Yes, I know you saw a fancy tweet saying, oh, he had over 1,000 received. The man played 17 games. If you play 17 games, you're going to put up some counting stats. Now, there are impressive things with Michael Pittman Jr. As a second-year player, he had a target share over 25% in Indianapolis. That's amazing. That is fantastic. But whenever you're going up against 32-year-old T.Y. Hilton, are we sure that's serious target competition? You do have Alec Pierce coming in. And I know a lot of people think Matt Ryan's going to make this a better offense overall. Hell, the Indianapolis Colts were top 10 last year in points scored. I don't know how much better they're going to get than that. I don't think they're going to be top 5 all of a sudden. So personally, I am looking to flip Michael Pittman Jr. if we are able to say, just trade him for a 2023 first. I know that's a deal that a lot of people have been able to make as of late. And I'm 100% willing to sign up for that. And real quick, we have not said this yet, so please let me get it in. If you have not done so already, if you are bored, if you are looking to have some fun in your life and you want to get in some real money fantasy football drafts, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy with the link in the description of this stream or in the comment section or in the live chat. You can find that link anywhere to Underdog Fantasy. And when you sign up and you use promo code FLOCK, you will get our 2022 rankings, our Dynasty rankings, our Dynasty rookie rankings. You'll get our 2022 Dynasty rookie draft guide, which is over 100 pages. You'll support this channel. They'll match your deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. Most importantly, you will have fun. We do these drafts every single day. Legitimately, I make these live streams every single day that you can come out and hop into. So please take advantage of that. And now let's go through. Alberto says, yo, Mason, I saw your combine video. Surprised you aren't signed to a team yet. There's nothing more frustrating than that. Like, I literally put out that combine video for the world to see how I demonstrated elite athleticism. Now, I know, sadly, my girlfriend was correct. I'm not 6 foot tall. I get it. That does suck. If you look at my size adjusted athleticism, it's probably not as nice, but hell, I weighed 160 pounds, put up 12 reps, 225 bench. What else are you asking for, NFL? Come on. Come on. You can find my business email in the description of the video. Please sign me as an undrafted free agent. Okay. Ethan says, what would be a good pivot from Davante Adams? It depends on the roster that you're looking at. And dear God, let me point this out. We are getting Josh Allen coming in here to get the Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs stack right next to CeeDee Lamb. beautiful start to this draft. But if we're looking at Davante Adams, if you're a contending team, obviously it's going to be a different story. If we're going to be moving Davante Adams on a contending roster, I would probably be looking to get back a wide receiver that maybe isn't going to give us that same level of production this season, but we could also get an additional piece on top of it. Like if we can move Davante Adams for Chris Godwin, who's a few years younger. Chris Godwin's averaged a wide receiver 1 season over the past 3 years. And then we could also get an additional piece because of the Chris Godwin injury. And if you think about it, like that Chris Godwin injury shouldn't be too big of a deal for a contending roster, because if you're a contender, while yeah, you may not have Chris Godwin through the first 3, 4, maybe even 5 weeks, that shouldn't be that big of a deal for you. You should have enough production. You should have enough production, especially going into the year when we haven't seen any injuries, when we don't have the bye weeks. You should have enough production to overcome the loss that you would be getting from Chris Godwin. I would love to make that swap. I think Chris Godwin is one of the best buys in Dynasty. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Felix says, drafting right now, I'm up at the 106, and I also have the 107. No second round pick. Am I crazy for passing on Garrett Wilson for Sky Moore? Yes, I think you are crazy. While Sky Moore is in a drastically better situation, Garrett Wilson, like, is so much better. It's so, like, I'm kind of speechless. I don't even know what to say. If you're looking at just raw talent overall, Sky Moore is not even in the same league as Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson goes in the top 10 of the NFL draft. Garrett Wilson dominated the number 11 pick in Chris Olave in 2021 at a younger age, his junior season. Please do not make that move. Okay. So now our next question coming out from Jared says, a Barkley and a 2023 second or Ezekiel Elliott and a 2023 first Superflex 10-team league. I actually saw you post this over there on that locals page. I went through, I replied to that. I think we are going to prefer Ezekiel Elliott in the 2023 first in a 10-team Superflex format, because that 10-team Superflex, that 2023 first is going to be beautiful. Okay, so now Will Edwards says Christian Kirk or Chase Claypool straight up. If you're going to be a rebuilding team, I'd go Claypool. If you're going to be a contender, I think it's between, it's just up to you. Okay, so now let's find our next question. Trey says, how does a best ball format change the value of a top tier superstar? Does someone like Chase become tradable? Yes. If you're talking about a best ball dynasty fantasy football format, if you just think, hell, we can go through and we can just cycle through production of all these different players. If you're able to go and trade Jamar Chase and get back Debo Samuel and Jalen Waddle, if you look at the combined scores of those two wide receivers on a week-to-week basis, you are going to see them outscore Chase. And maybe in a regular format, you would not be making that deal. But as soon as you make it super flex, you are always going to try to go quantity over quality. Essentially, you're always trying to pick up an extra wide receiver 2. If you can have 8 wide receiver 2s on your team, nobody's beating you. JN says, Texas baseball today, record crowd expected. Hope that you are at the game, my man. Hope that you're having fun. Luke out here in the chat, thank you. Skills All Day says, will the Raiders be the best in the AFC with all the new trades all day? I personally can't get there. I mean, if we're looking at the offense, I do think that they actually pass the ball frequently with the addition of Davante Adams. I think that it is going to be, I don't want to say a similar situation to Los Angeles last year where Derek Carr is this year's Matthew. I feel like that's taking it a step too far. The issue with them is they're going to have to play 6 games against the combination of Russell Wilson in Denver, Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, and Justin Herbert with the Los Angeles Chargers, who just upgraded their entire defense as well. So it's tough to say the Raiders are the best in the AFC. I understand the excitement for them, though. Now, Balls Live says, almost on the clock at the 211 in a Superflex startup, looking to move back. What in return are you looking for? Questions like this are so general. Like, how am I supposed to go through? I don't know your starting lineup. I don't know how many teams are in your league. I don't know if it's Superflex. I don't know if it's one. Like, I'm very sorry. I can't answer general questions like this. I can try to BS it, but in reality, it's not going to help you nearly as much as if you give me all the information. It's a very specific question where I can look at the different variables of your league format. Okay. So now our next one, William says, do I ship Rashad Bateman off for what I presume to be a late 2023 first? You don't know if it's a late 2023 first. could very easily be a mid, could be an early 2023 first. And yes, we are going to go through and make that. I know everybody here, the smart person goes ahead and takes Gabriel Davis to get the double stack with Stephon Diggs. I just really don't want to. I really want to take Montgomery. I'm very rarely taking Gabriel Davis. The only time I'll take Gabriel Davis is if we have Josh Allen. If Gabriel Davis falls further than his ADP, it is what it is. I don't think he's a good player here, but in best ball, if we're talking about that week 17 spike week we're chasing, I think it's a fine pickup. Okay, so now our next one coming out from Trey says, a Dynasty Superflex 12-team league, start 10. Would you trade Travis Etienne for a 2023 first and a second? I am rebuilding. Yes, Superflex. I think that is, I don't want to say an easy trade for us to make, but think about it. Even if Travis Etienne were to hit, are we sure that the player we are getting with the first round pick next year isn't in a comparable range to Travis Etienne? Like, what happens if that first ends up being Jahmyr Gibbs at the 105 and you pick up the second? You move away from Travis Etienne, so all of a sudden you're not going to be getting this points in your starting lineup, which should in theory give you a better shot at your own pick being the 101, the 102. So yeah, I would go ahead and I would sell Travis Etienne for a future first and second in a super flex format. If it instead was going to be a one quarterback league, there I think we could have a different conversation. Okay. So now let's go through and find our next question. Our next question will be coming out from Brian, who says Saquon Barkley in the 105 for CeeDee Lamb and a 2023 second. I'm going to go Saquon Barkley in the 105. I mean, at the 105, you're getting one of Treylon Burks, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Kenneth Walker. You're not getting Brees Hall, obviously, but you could have any of those other four players making it to you. And if you're asking me, oh, Mason, do we prefer Treylon Burks and Saquon Barkley or CeeDee Lamb in a second? Give me Saquon Barkley and Treylon Burks. Okay, so Tucker says, what would you sell Jalen Waddle for? Worried Tyreek is going to hurt him a lot. I personally was looking to sell Jalen Waddle for T. Higgins at the beginning of the offseason. We screamed about that for God knows how long whenever you had Jalen Waddle going almost a full round ahead of T. Higgins in Dynasty drafts. Now Higgins is above him. Jalen Waddle has fallen. I am sorry to tell you this, my dude, but I think you've missed the boat. Like, the time to go through and sell Jalen Waddle was like 2 months ago. Nobody wants Waddle now. Like, if you look at where Jalen Waddle goes in this draft, yeah, keep in mind it is redraft, but he goes at the 403. He goes behind Cortland Sutton. He goes behind Jerry Judy. He goes behind Hollywood Brown, Mike Williams, Michael Pittman. I'm sorry, my dude. If you could get in a time machine, what I'd tell you is, hell, go back 2 months and try to move Jalen Waddle for T. Higgins, but that's not happening now. Okay, so Trey says, a Dynasty Superflex 12-team league, start 10. Would you trade Dak for a 2023 first and Trevor Lawrence? I am rebuilding. This is difficult because I don't think it's in the range of outcomes for all of a sudden Trevor Lawrence to jump into that Dak Prescott tier. But if we are looking at a rebuilding roster, we can say, hell, you're going to get a better pick overall next year if Dak Prescott's points aren't in your starting lineup. Who knows? Maybe that 2023 first could end up turning into the 104 and you could be bringing in Bryce Young. And if we're looking at the combination of Bryce Young and Trevor Lawrence versus Dak Prescott, we probably prefer Trevor Lawrence and Bryce Young, but it is a fair trade. I would say it's honestly up to you. And Andrew says, I was offered Stephon Diggs, Alvin Kamara, and Darnell Mooney for Jamar Chase in Dynasty. Should I make the move? Oh, this is interesting. Obviously, the only way you would ever make this trade is if you are a contending team. I will say, based on the situation you have in Buffalo with, I know we drafted Gabriel Davis here just because we had Josh Allen, just because we had Stephon Diggs in the stack. But overall, Gabriel Davis, not a great wide receiver too. You have almost 200 targets leaving this offense with a combination of Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley gone. Stephon Diggs this season, I would not be surprised if he's within 1 to 2 points per game of Jamar Chase. I actually think that's probably the expectation given the quarterback play that you have in Buffalo. Adding on another running back one in Alvin Kamara, adding in Darnell Mooney. Obviously, this is a deal that if you make it, you could easily win this season. You could make this trade and all of a sudden just cash out that 2022 ship. But I'm almost certain that next offseason, Jamar Chase will have more value. So with the deal like this, I would say it comes down to your overall team build, your roster construction, and your time horizon. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Piano says, sent Drake London and AJ Brown for Justin Jefferson. What are your thoughts? I love me some Drake London. AJ Brown's also top 3 in the NFL over the past 3 seasons in yards per route run. Situations gross in Philadelphia. I probably prefer Drake London and AJ Brown if I'm going to be honest. Okay, so now let's go through. Michael says, keeper league, keep 3, Javonte Williams, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, and Mark Andrews. So I know everybody here is going to be screaming, oh, Javonte Williams, Justin Jefferson, and Cooper Kupp. I honestly think in a keeper format that you're only keeping 3, where you have to like let go of someone like Mark Andrews. It's not Dynasty. You should not be looking at it as Dynasty. We shouldn't be thinking about 2023 at all, in my opinion. I think we should just be treating it as if it's a traditional redraft format. And if we're treating it like a traditional redraft format, I am going to prefer the combination of Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, and Mark Andrews over Javonte Williams. Even though that may not necessarily be my answer in Dynasty. In a 3-player keeper league, it's a lot closer to redraft than Dynasty. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Trey says, Dynasty Superflex League, 12 teams, start 10. Would you trade Jameson Williams for Tony Pollard in 2 future seconds? I am rebuilding. I think it's a fair deal. I think it would be tough for me to pull the trigger, though. I probably would just go along and hold on to Jameson Williams with the expectation that we could get slightly more. The reason I'm hesitant, though, is if we just think through this. If Ezekiel Elliott were to miss time this upcoming season, I mean, Ezekiel Elliott has seen some of the most touches on a year-to-year basis than any running back has since 2016. If Ezekiel Elliott were to go down, you could almost immediately flip Tony Pollard in one of those second-round picks into a 2023 first, or maybe just get the 2023 first straight up for Tony Pollard. And if that's going to be the case, would I trade Jameson Williams for a 2023 first and second? Yeah, of course I would do that. I think it's a fair deal. I mean, both questions you asked today, I think are very fair and just intriguing thought exercises overall. Okay. Tristan says, what kind of adjustments would you make for a 10-team single quarterback start 7? Oh, dear God. A 10-team single quarterback start 7. Literally the only thing that matters. The only thing that matters is upside, upside, upside. A wide receiver too, the guys on the board right now, Christian Kirk, Russell Gage, Sky Moore, those players have absolutely no value whatsoever in a 10-team start 7 league. And if you look at how many points that the tight end will account for in your starting lineup, I actually would advocate as well to go out of your way and to honestly go get one of those elite level tight ends. If you're playing in a 10-team league that only starts 7, I am willing to go out of our way and overpay. Yes, I would overpay to bring in Kyle Pitts. Like I would go, okay, I got Darnell Mooney. I have Drake London. Take Darnell Mooney, take Drake London, take David Montgomery, take them all. Just give me back Kyle Pitts. Give me that one asset, which is very different if you're playing in like a 12-team league where you start 11 or more. But truly the only thing that matters is upside. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Marks is productive struggle. Are we going to go DJ Moore for a 2023 and 2024 first? If you're looking at DJ Moore, I want to say that he is one of the most talented wide receivers in the NFL. This is someone that accounted for almost 28% of his team's targets on a per game basis this past season. However, if you're rebuilding, give me the 2 future firsts. It really just comes down to what is going to be on the clock with that 2023 first, and also the flexibility that you'll have in the roster and the trades that you can make during the season if values arise. Now, Chris coming out says, I love the show. I'm in a Dynasty Superflex 12-team league. Who would be your target at the running back position using AJ Dillon and future picks? Hate the idea of trading away future picks right now. I mean, I really am trying to hold on to every future pick that we have. That way, during the season, we're one of the very few teams that have accumulated those future picks, and we can trade them to teams that thought they were going to be contending, that all of a sudden had an injury or two to their running back core, start out 1-4, and are like, oh my God, I just have to go through and flip Dalvin Cook for absolutely anything. Like, I really think you should be holding on to your picks right now. I almost don't even want to answer this, because I think the process of trading away AJ Brown and one of your future assets to get an upgrade on June 4th, probably not the best thing to do in my opinion. Okay, Chris says, I know we just answered that one. Pew Pew says, I flipped Kyler Murray for Russell Wilson and Jerry Judy. Was that a smart deal? I think it's fine. If it's a 4-point passing touchdown format, I think there you easily prefer to have Kyler Murray over Russell Wilson, given the rushing upside. In a 6-point passing touchdown league, I think based on the passing efficiency you should expect in Denver, there you get more excited about the Russell Wilson, Jerry Judy side. I think it's a good deal overall, though. Okay, so now our next deal coming out from Zach says, who finishes higher, Allen Robinson or Robert Woods? It's going to be Allen Robinson. Now, I will say, I think Allen Robinson, like in redraft leagues right now, is being overvalued. Like if you just go through and if you look at where Allen Robinson goes in this draft, Robert Woods is not off the board. This is why, guys, if you just go and literally sign up for Underdog Fantasy, deposit $10, they'll throw $10 into your account with promo code FLOCK. You'll get all my Dynasty rankings, and then you can opt into 4 of these drafts for $5, literally. And you will have such a good idea of the expectations for baseline finishes of these players. Like this question shouldn't really exist whenever you have Allen Robinson here going at pick 53 and Robert Woods is consistently going 5 to 6 rounds after. You need to understand that the baseline expectations for these players, they are not even in the same tier this upcoming season. Now, I will say, I personally think Allen Robinson's overvalued. Of course, we're not just looking at ADP and saying this is 100% what's going to happen. But when you see a gap that Allen Robinson's going as the wide receiver 22 compared to Robert Woods being the wide receiver 50, that's going to help you whenever you're making your dynasty decisions. Okay, so we have a donation coming out from The Truth who says, thoughts about my Superflex tight end premium format, 12-team dynasty league. We have Lamar Jackson. Okay, so Lamar, we can assume that you do have a top 5 quarterback for this upcoming season. Now, I will say in Dynasty Fantasy Football, I'm a little bit more concerned about his longevity based on the playing style that he has, but that's besides the point. You have an elite level quarterback. You have Deshaun Watson, who has historically had a ceiling of being the quarterback 1 in fantasy and a floor over a 4-year sample. We have a large sample size on Deshaun Watson, the floor of being a mid quarterback 1. The only combination of that floor and ceiling we have seen through the first 4 years of someone's NFL career has been Patrick Mahomes. So you have 2 elite level quarterbacks. Past that, Michael Pittman, DJ Moore, Gabriel Davis. Okay, so wide receiver, we're fine. I mean, here you're looking at probably 2 wide receiver 2s and then a wide receiver 3. Then we have some elite level running backs. Oh my God, we have Barkley, Fournette, James Conner, Breece Hall, Travis Etienne. Okay, so we are built around the running back position, and we have Dalton Schultz here. That's a great team, my man. I would be interested if it's a 6-point passing touchdown format. 4-point passing touchdown league, hold on to Lamar Jackson given the rushing upside. But in the 6-point passing touchdown format, you should favor those pocket passing options that should see more passing volume overall. There, if we can move Lamar and bring in, say, a Dak Prescott and then a small piece on top of that to get the stack with Dalton Schultz, that would be intriguing. Or if we want to keep Lamar Jackson in a 4-point passing touchdown league, we could potentially try to take Dalton Schultz in one of these depth running backs like Leonard Fournette or Travis Etienne, probably would have to be Etienne, and then go out of your way and bring in Mark Andrews. Okay. So now our next question coming out from Thomas says, someone in my dynasty league is really interested in T. Higgins. What should I ask for in return? A 2023 first, question mark, not looking to compete this year. If you look at the combination of the production you had from T. Higgins at 23 years old this past season, oh my gosh, I will say real quick, I used to get excited, go, oh my God, James Cook on the board. We're building around this Buffalo offense. Let's take James Cook. It comes to a point where you can no longer just continue to build around one offense overall. So we are going to have to go through. We're going to have to take Chase Edmonds over James Cook here in this draft. We're getting Edmonds at pick 112. I love this team overall. Let me show this team. But yeah, going back over to T. Higgins, if you look at T. Higgins at 23 years old, he actually led this team in target share. And on top of that, he led his offense in air yards per game as well. So with T. Higgins, I still think he's an elite level receiver. Of course, we should expect that Jamar Chase is the wide receiver 1 going forward. But I don't think Higgins is that far off. So I'm not too interested in going through and just moving off of T. Higgins, even at market price. Like I would definitely need more than a 2023 first. Okay, Jesse says, should I give up Dalvin Cook in a first for Javonte Williams and Damien Harris? I personally want it. Like Dalvin's going to outproduce both Javonte and Harris this upcoming season. And you have future value there with the first. That's not a deal that I'm looking to make at this time of the year. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Brady says, startup redraft, pick 5, not super flex, no defense, and a half-point PPR. Who would you be targeting with that pick? Okay, so if we're looking at pick 5, you're presumably going to have the top 3 guys off the board with Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Justin Herbert. You have no shot at those players, and if somehow they make it to you at 5, you're taking them. You're not thinking twice about it. But it is very difficult to be drafting when you get to pick 4, 5, 6, 7. I personally would say if you can grab a Kyler Murray, that's just fine. Take Kyler, cornerstone asset. If it's a 10-team league, however, there, I would say you're going to get such good quarterback values later on, even in the Superflex format, that I would be willing to go ahead and draft Jonathan Taylor. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Hunter says, James, okay, that's something else. King says, with one spot left, would you add Amari Rodgers, Velus Jones, Byron Pringle, or Isaiah McKenzie? I would go ahead and add Velus Jones. Now, he's going to be bad. Most likely he's going to be bad. Most likely you're going to go through and you're going to cut him almost immediately. But this is a wide receiver that was drafted in the second round just because of his speed. I mean, you're not expecting him to really ever command volume in Chicago, but he should play snaps right away. And what happens if all of a sudden he does end up connecting deep? Just 1 week. You have 1 week where he connects deep with Mr. Justin Fields. And you can flip him for a third. You can flip him for a second. I don't necessarily think you could ever have a shot. Like, even what happens if Byron Pringle starts out the year and he has 3 weeks in a row where he catches a touchdown? Can you trade Byron Pringle for anything? The answer to that question is no, you cannot. Okay, so now let's find our next question here. This next one's going to be coming out from B-Birds, who says, Nick Chubb in 2 2023 first or Javonte Williams in 2 future seconds. We're easily taking Nick Chubb in 2 2023 first. I don't really think we have to think twice about that one. And Sharon says, thoughts on the trade, Javonte Williams, Irv Smith Jr., and a 2023 second for 2 future first and Jameson Williams. Okay, so we can look at this, say we do prefer Jameson Williams over Irv Smith Jr. in a future second. Do we prefer Javonte Williams or 2 2023 first? If it's going to be a super flex format, I'm taking the first round picks. I feel like there have been 5 trades in a row asked about Javonte Williams, and we've taken the other side on every single one. Real quick, if y'all have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like on the live stream. We just passed 100 likes on the stream, so thank you, everybody, for that. We're going to make a pick here in our 12th, and then I am going to run to fill up my water real quick because y'all can probably tell I cannot talk right now. I'm dying. Okay, so now our next question from Jared says, I traded Kittle, Godwin, the 202, and a future second for Dawson Knox, Jerry Judy, Tua Tagovailoa in a mid to late first. Thoughts on who won the deal? Okay, if we're looking at Chris Godwin versus Jerry Judy, I honestly think that they are comparable players at this moment. I still probably prefer Chris Godwin, but in Dynasty, I think it's a fair swap. And if we're looking at Tua versus the 202 and the 2024 second, I'm going to prefer Tua, and I definitely prefer Dawson Knox in the first. Yeah, so I really like that deal. Yeah, I'm going to prefer Dawson Knox, Jerry Judy, Tua Tagovailoa, and a future first versus Kittle, Godwin, the 202, and a 2024 second. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Hunter says, would you rather stack a quarterback with their elite wide receiver or an elite tight end option? Example, Trey Lance with Debo or Kittle and Carr with Adams or Wall. Honestly, it's up to you. I mean, I think it's dependent on the situation. Like the example that you brought up in, say, Debo Samuel and Trey Lance, that may not necessarily be a great one because Lance, if he hits, is probably taking value away from Debo Samuel with the rushing touchdown specifically. Whereas with Adams, if he hits, it's definitely due to Derek Carr. But real quick, I'm going to go fill this up. I will be gone 10 seconds. 10 seconds. I will show off this entire draft board as we are gone as well. Okay, we are back. Thank you for waiting. And real quick, it looks like we're going to pass 150 likes on this live stream. So we are going to get another draft going after this. If you want to join it, make sure you just go to the link in the description. Sign up for Underdog Fantasy. We do this every single day. Literally nothing is more fun than hopping in these drafts. Okay, so now our next question coming out from James says, I'd be sending Stephon Diggs, Mark Andrews, David Montgomery, and Keel Herbert for Davante Adams, Darren Waller, Nick Chubb, a future first, second, and third. What are your thoughts? Okay, so if we break this down just piece by piece, I would prefer Darren Waller in the future first over Mark Andrews. I would prefer Nick Chubb over David Montgomery. Oh, but yeah, you're sending Diggs as well. I mean, Diggs versus Adams. Give me Diggs, but it's like neck and neck. It's right there. Herbert is a non-factor. I understand that you have David Montgomery. Maybe you like the idea that, oh, I'm monopolizing the backfield. We're getting every single touch regardless of who's healthy. I personally don't care too much about that. I think it's a very fair trade. Like if we break this down, literally say Stephon Diggs equals Davante Adams in a second. I would rather have Waller in the first over Andrews. I would rather have Chubb over Montgomery. So you know what? Yeah, give me the Davante Adams, Darren Waller, Nick Chubb, and future pick side. Okay, so Bella John says Kirk Cousins and a 2023 second for a 2025 first and a 10-team Superflex. No, keep like please. I know we go on this rant like once a live stream. Do not be trading away 2025 or do not be trading for 2025 first. I know we do this once a live stream, so people are annoyed, but you're gonna have to deal with it. Let's run through this right now. We know. Think about how long this offseason's been, right? You probably never heard the name, just say, Damien Pierce. You never heard the Damien Pierce hype before this offseason. Think about how far we have come, how long it has been. Now, think about how far away 2025 is. We have to go through this entire year, right? First, we have to finish this offseason. We have another 100 days before the season starts. To go 100 days before the season starts. Then you have to finish the entire season. Then we just entered the 2023 offseason. You have to go through an entire other offseason in 2023. Then you have to go through the entire season of 2023. Then you have to go through the offseason of 2024. And then you have to go through the entire season of, like, do you have any idea how far that is? Who knows if your Dynasty League will be around then? Please, like... It's more a rant about your commissioner. Like your commissioner should not allow trading up until 2025. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take Justin Fields here. Not a big Justin Fields fan. We're getting him 20 picks behind his ADP. He does have some rushing upside for spike weeks. Okay, so let's go find our next question. Our next question is going to be coming out from Crowdy. Says Hunter Renfro or Darnell Mooney. I'm personally going to prefer Darnell Mooney. I mean, if you look at Darnell Mooney, he dominated Allen Robinson this past season with his target share. Now I understand. Yeah, maybe you make the argument, oh, Mason, that's unfair. Look at the quarterback. Look at Matt Nagy. I don't really care. I mean, Darnell Mooney was better than Allen Robinson last year by a wide margin. And with Darnell Mooney, he has no target competition this season. They add in Velus Jones. They add in Byron Pringle. But Velus Jones literally just a field-stretching wide receiver, never going to command volume. Yeah, I'm going to prefer Darnell Mooney versus Hunter Renfro having to go up against the combination of Darren Waller and Davante Adams. Like Darren Waller and Davante Adams versus Cole Kmet. That's what we're talking here. Cole Kmet and freaking Velus Jones. Okay, so now the truth says I traded for Breece Hall, giving up the 108, a future first and second, the 208, and a future second as well. Is he worth that much? I honestly don't like that. I just hate trading away all those picks. Like if you hold on to those picks and wait until during the season, you are going to have options. You are going to be able to go on a shopping spree. You're going to be able to go and trade for players who we know are producing. Like to trade 1, 2, 3, 4 picks, including 2 of those being first rounders and 2 of those being seconds for Breece Hall right now. I love me some Breece Hall. I don't love this trade though. Okay. So let's pull up this board. An interesting team we have here. We're obviously only drafting 2 quarterbacks. I don't know how many tight ends we're going to have to draft. I don't know how many running backs we're going to draft. Maybe we could stop at 5. Probably not. Okay, so now our next question coming out from MJ says, I have Elijah Moore, the 101 and the 105 in the rookie draft. Obviously, Breece Hall and likely Wilson. Do I trade one of them away or go all in? If I trade one, which one? Okay, so I will be the first person to admit, I think that Zach Wilson is probably bad. I think that Zach Wilson is probably going to be a bad quarterback, and it's going to be a bad situation for Elijah Moore and for Garrett Wilson. But if you have already rostered both players, if you are already pot committed, no, you've made that bet. Like when you roster Elijah Moore, you're like, okay, you're going to the sports book. You're like, hey man, I will bet that Zach Wilson is better than expectations this season. I'm going to roster Elijah Moore. For your dynasty team to do well, for Elijah Moore to do well, you have to win that bet. So might as well double down, because only 1 out of every 12 people in your dynasty league actually win. You have an expectation of an 8.3% win rate. So while yes, it definitely lowers your floor. If you roster both Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore, it will lower your floor, because if Zach Wilson actually is bad, then oh dear God, good luck this season. But if he's good, then it's double the profit, essentially. That's how we're trying to play Dynasty. Give me the 101 or the 112. I don't want anything in between. Okay. So now our next question coming out from Hunter says, I know that's just a response. Let's find our next one. And quickly, let me say, go down there, drop a like on the live stream. We are about to hit 150 likes. And like I said, if we hit under 50 likes, we'll get another draft going after this one. And Josh says, how does a start 9 versus a start 11 affect the value of rookie picks? It doesn't really affect the value of picks per se. Now, maybe you make the argument that in the start 9 format, those third round picks aren't going to be worth as valuable, because the odds that they actually have an impact, whether it's season 1, season 2, season 3, to hit your starting lineup, it's going to be significantly smaller. Now, I think how it actually changes things is if it's a super flex format where you start 9, it is going to bump up the value of the quarterback position in rookie drafts, because they're going to be accounting for a much higher percentage of your starting lineup overall. Where if I'm playing in a 12-team league where I can start 11 guys, and I can go through and say, throw out, just as an example, I can go and I can play 6 or 7 wide receivers every single week. Yeah, maybe I have Ryan Tannehill as our quarterback 2, but if I have Tannehill at quarterback 2 and I'm rolling out 6 wide receivers and 5 of them are better than yours, hell, good luck beating me. Good luck catching up. You're not going to be able to. Whereas if it's going to be a start 9 league instead, then all of a sudden you're in a different scenario where it doesn't matter. Like if I go through and if I punt the wide receiver position, but I'm rostering both Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson, then all of a sudden my opponents won't have the ability with the extra flex spots to catch back up on the production that they were lacking at the quarterback position. So essentially, it doesn't change the value of rookie picks in my mind. It will change the value of the positions in the rookie drafts that we are targeting. Okay. So now Trey says, how do positionless best balls change the value of top tier superstars? Can you trade someone like Chase for 3 pieces? I think we already answered this. Now our next question coming out from Zachary says, I traded AJ Brown and Elijah Mitchell for Jalen Waddle, Deontay Johnson in the future second. What are your thoughts on this deal? I really like it. I mean, if you're looking at Deontay Johnson stepping into the prime of his career, this is a wide receiver that's a mid wide receiver 1 this past year with Ben Roethlisberger, who's one of the worst quarterbacks on an adjusted yards per pass attempt basis this past season. He was 39 years old. Like Big Ben had nothing left to offer this offense. I think you probably have a quarterback upgrade coming in sometime soon. Maybe that's Trubisky. Maybe that's going to be, I don't know. And yes, you do have added target competition with George Pickens, but what were you expecting? They lost both James Washington and Juju Smith-Schuster. They had to bring in another receiver. Okay. At this point, we are 100% having to draft a wide receiver ourselves. We started this draft off going very wide receiver heavy. We have Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, Deontay Johnson, Gabriel Davis, and Drake London. But since then, we have stopped drafting because we went 0 running backs. We wanted to grab 6 of those guys. So we are going to go ahead and take one of Will Fuller or Donovan Peoples-Jones. Whoever they leave us, honestly, I'll just let that run down. Let's find our next question. Spillin says, what's the highest you would reasonably take Kyle Pitts in a non-tight end premium startup? If it's going to be a super flex format, I think the earliest you could go Kyle Pitts would probably be at the very end of the first round. Like if we're getting to the 112, I'm fine if we want to go Kyle Pitts over some of the running backs that are going to be in that range. I do think you need to take the elite quarterbacks in Superflex over him. I think you need to take Kyler. I think you need to take Lamar, obviously the top 3. I think you need to take Watson as well. And if you all had a chance to read our Dynasty research book, which is available on flockfantasy.com, y'all should know that I'm not really changing the value too much of our tight ends, whether it's a 1.5 or just a regular PPR format. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Deange, who says, CeeDee Lamb, Hunter Renfro, Evan Ingram, and a 2023 third, or A.J. Brown and George Kittle in a PPR Superflex format. Okay, I'm going to prefer CeeDee Lamb over A.J. Brown. Obviously, we prefer Kittle over Renfro, Ingram in the third. I would probably just stick it with A.J. Brown and George Kittle, even though I really like the idea of rostering CeeDee Lamb in Dynasty. It's probably a price that I'm just not willing to pay there. Okay, now our next question coming out from Red Panda says, what is Chase Claypool worth? Trying to shop him in a 12-team, one quarterback format. You're not going to get a future first. I would say if we're talking rookie picks, you could probably trade Chase Claypool for a 2023 second in a one quarterback format. I'm most likely not going to do it. I'd rather hold on to Claypool based on what we had his rookie season. Now, our next question coming out from Brian says, would you be wary of a Dobbins, Andrews, and Lamar Jackson triple stack? Guys, you should not be worried about, you should be trying to do this. You should be trying to stack. Because when you roster Lamar Jackson, when you roster Mark Andrews, you've already made a bet. You say, I'm going against the market. I am making a bet that the Baltimore Ravens are better than league average. Where if you're wrong with that bet, yes, if you have that triple stack, you're probably losing your league. But if you're playing in a 12-team league, you need to know your expected win rate is about 8.3, 8.7, somewhere around there. About 8.5% of the time you are going to win your league. What we are trying to do is we are trying to polarize. We are not trying to draft with a high floor. I want the highest ceiling or the lowest floor possible. I want nothing in between, because in Dynasty, hell, when you're very bad, you get rewarded. You get the 101. You get the 102. You get the 103. Whereas when you're very good, you win some money. So please, don't be trying to get sixth place. Like, I would rather go through and draft, say, I've already drafted over 100 teams on Underdog Fantasy this offseason. If you told me, Mason, I got good news for you, buddy. 15% of these leagues got first place. 10% of them got second. You had a 25% hit rate on first or second place. I would be jumping up and down. And they go, well, Mason, calm down. We got bad news as well. The bad news is the 75% of leagues that didn't get first or second place, you got last. I would be like, okay, who the hell cares? Sixth place gets paid the same as last. Like, so please, no, do not worry about your floor. Just go through, draft for your ceiling. And you know what? Let me get my queue set up and we'll hop into another draft here. I'll send it. I mean, you know where the draft's going to be. It will be on Underdog, but let me just queue some stuff up. We'll go ahead. I don't even know who we want in this range. Okay, bam. We have some wide receivers in our queue. We are going to go with, actually, I guess we could go tight end, couldn't we? Yeah. You know what? I completely forgot about tight end. Okay. So let's go through, hop into this next draft. This is going to be another public draft here. This is the $5 draft on Underdog, $75,000 to first. Of course, that's not first in your 12-team league. That's first in the tournament at the very end of the season. First place gets paid in your 12-team league. Second place gets paid in your 12-team league. But they do have those massive prizes for that tournament at the very end of the year, which is why stacking, raising your upside is going to be incredibly important, especially for that Week 17 matchup. We've already drafted, I want to say, slightly over 50 of these. We just hopped in this, and there's one spot left in the draft room. One spot left. I'd imagine some people from the flock are probably already in here. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Christian says, would Aaron Donald leaving affect Cooper Kupp's value? My man, you are way overthinking this. You are way, like, I understand, and maybe in some crazy world, we can convince ourselves that if Aaron Donald leaves, all of a sudden, the Rams defense goes from being a top 10 unit in the NFL to league average to slightly below average. And maybe in that scenario, this team has to throw the ball more. Man, you're jumping through hoops. No, a defensive tackle, no matter how good they are leaving, is not going to have an impact on the wide receiver who was the wide receiver 1 overall last season. So please do not overthink it. Okay. Jason says, about time I draft, would having both Jamar and Higgins be a bad thing? Is this entire live stream meant for me to just say that it's okay to have players from the same team? If anything, it's good to have players from the same team. But we just went through it, so I'm not going to answer that again. Okay, our next one coming up from Jay and says, I drafted Kelsey and Andrews in a puppy. Testing something out. Okay, in these drafts, I will say, whenever I've tried drafting both Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, has not worked out for me. Has not worked out for me in the slightest. Our next question coming out from Thomas says, Laviska Shenault had more regular receiving yards than Gabriel Davis in their careers. I saw that tweet, my man, and I agree with you. I think Gabriel Davis is very bad. Gabriel Davis is one of my least drafted wide receivers so far. If I knew we were going to get Dawson Knox later on behind his ADP and we would get the double stack with Dawson Knox, Stephon Diggs, and Josh Allen, I wouldn't have taken Gabriel Davis. I would have taken Montgomery instead. Andrew says, in a one quarterback, 12-team league, is Jahan Dotson in a 2023 second enough to get Rashad Bateman? It should be. I think it's a very fair deal. I mean, if you're looking at the prospect profile of Jahan Dotson, yeah, it's not as good as Rashad Bateman, but he doesn't also have a rookie season failure on that hit rate list. So I think it's a completely fair trade. Stevie says, would you trade Jalen Waddle for a 2023 first and a 2024 second? Scott, who we had on the channel over the past few days, he said he would. Personally, I don't think I can. I mean, if we're looking at Jalen Waddle, he put up a low-end wide receiver 1 finish on a per-game basis as a rookie. Like, if you look at wide receivers that had a similar rookie season to him, it's literally just the elite of the elite. It's like Julio Jones, AJ Green, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, Odell Beckham. Like, that's the list of guys you're looking at with a similar rookie season than Jalen Waddle. He's in a horrible situation, but I'm still not trading Jalen Waddle for just a future first. And really quick, let me repeat myself. If you have not done so already, please go to the link in the description. Sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Become a better fantasy football player overall. And if you enjoy fantasy football, if you enjoy Dynasty, I promise you, there's nothing you will enjoy more than Underdog. There's a reason why they are the sponsor of the channel. And when you sign up and use promo code FLOCK, they'll match your deposit up to $100, but you only have to deposit $100 and you get our 2022 rankings, our 2022 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, our 2022 Dynasty Rookie Rankings. Literally, that stuff sold for like $50. People buy it for $50 instead of just going and signing up for Underdog with $10, promo code FLOCK, and then getting $10 added to your account, so it's free. And find the link in the description, as always. Well, let's find our next question. Coming out from Pasha, says 105, London's already off the board, and the 111 for Mark Andrews and a 12-team Superflex half PPR. Okay, so the 104 we can assume is probably going to be Treylon Burks. Based on what I have seen, it looks like rookie drafts are trending in the direction of having Kenneth Walker going over Treylon Burks. I don't agree with it. I think you should be going with the wide receiver in that range. Now, what I will say is, yeah, I'm fine just going ahead and moving the picks to get Mark Andrews. Like, if it's a tight end premium format, Mark Andrews looks like he could be turning into what Kelce has been over the past 3 years. And if you look at Travis Kelce, if you rostered Kelce over the past 4 years in Dynasty, your expected win rate has to have been sky high with the consistent elite production that you were getting that honestly really can't be replaced any other way. So I personally would go ahead and I would just take Andrews, unless maybe it's crazy where it's like a 12-team league where you start 11 or more players and then you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess Treylon Burks and Chris Olave are guys that we really need. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Alberto says, Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts on the same team. Okay, I'm assuming he was talking about a puppy draft. Baby Cow says, Elijah Moore, the 107, the 207, or Dalton Schultz and the 103. Okay, I'm going to prefer the 103 easily over the 107 and the 207. If you think of who's going to be available to you at the 103, as we said, you're going to be looking at guys like either Kenneth Walker, you're potentially going to be looking at a Treylon Burks, whereas once we move to the 107, you are just in a completely different range of the draft where honestly, nobody has access to the same level ceiling. Okay. Let's pull this up, and dear God, I hate drafting at the 101. Drafting at the 101 this year is horrible. Keenan Allen goes. I'm going to say F it. Let's try a hyper-fragile build. Let's try a hyper-fragile build, see how it goes. Let's start 3 running backs in a row. It's a $5 draft. We can test out some different things. We'll go 3 running backs in a row. Okay, so now our next question coming out from It's LB says, I have Josh Allen and Justin Fields in my Superflex Dynasty. Do you think my ceiling is high, or should I move off of Fields? I also have Darnell Mooney. I traded for Jalen Hurts for the duo last year. I think obviously if you could walk that back, if you could move Jalen Hurts, I mean, if you can move Justin Fields and Darnell Mooney back for Jalen Hurts, you do it, but this is where we're stuck with. And no, I would hold on to Justin Fields. I mean, y'all know nobody hated Justin Fields more than I did last year. Like, I don't know how many videos I just came on and spewed hate about Justin Fields. Like, if you read our comment section, people were like threatening me with how often I was going after Fields. But I can be unbiased now. I can now say, okay, well, if we look at Justin Fields and his profile, this is a quarterback that has rushing upside while he's in a horrible situation, which is what we said last year as well. He does have rushing upside. I guess we can hold on to him. Yeah, I think you're probably just going to keep Justin Fields for the time being because his value has fallen a considerable amount. He's no longer going in the second round of startup drafts where we are screaming how bad it was of a draft pick. Now, if you're looking at him, he's the quarterback 14 going at pick 44. So he's a fourth round startup pick instead in 12-team Superflex League. And I think that's completely fine. Travis says the most you'd pay for Miles Sanders. I'm sorry, my friend. That is way, way too broad. Bill Todd says Dynasty Superflex, the 201. Are we going to go Jahan Dotson, Damian Pierce, or Malik Willis? I'm personally going to go with Jahan Dotson. I'm not going to think twice about it. Yes, in a very bad situation, parked behind Terry McLaurin. No shot to be the wide receiver one in his own offense. And honestly, more importantly, the situation's bad because the overall passing efficiency with Carson Wentz is not going to be great. But still, we can look at it and say, yes, the talent, we know he's going to be around in the NFL for at least the next 4 years. Damien Pierce, even if Pierce comes out and he hits, right? This is what we talked about with Michael Carter last year. It's what we talked about with Michael Carter at the beginning of the offseason, what we talked also with Elijah Mitchell at the beginning of the offseason. These running backs that are day 3 draft picks, even when they hit their rookie seasons, even when they're Phillip Lindsay, their value in Dynasty doesn't go up much. And the reason for this is you can see the teams that they are on are willing to just go and reinvest in the running back position. Like I said, we just brought up Michael Carter, Elijah Mitchell. Last year, James Robinson. It's like, even if Dameon Pierce hits, I'm still probably going to go through and say, yeah, I'd probably rather have Jahan Dotson for the long term. Now, Jordan says, would you trade Dak and Drake London for Patrick Mahomes? Depends on the league. If you start like 11 or more guys in a 12-team format, probably not. But if it's shallower than that, yeah, I would go up and pay for Mahomes. Okay, so Owen says, reasonable trade for Kyle Pitts. Way too broad, my man. Bello John says, should I compete or how should I make a pivot in a 10-team Superflex format where I have Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Kirk Cousins, Davis Mills, Javonte Williams, J.K. Dobbins, Breece Hall, Damian Pierce. Wide receivers, we have Chris Godwin, Chase Claypool, Corey Davis, Jarvis Landry, Devontae Parker, David Bell. Tight end, we have Cole Kmet, David Njoku, and 2023 first. Yes, you are ready to compete. You are ready to compete. And what I would say is we probably want to go ahead and wait until the season. And what we are going to look to do is we are going to look to try to take advantage of a team that thought they were going to be contending that all of a sudden have 1 to 2 significant injuries and aren't able to compete this upcoming season. And in that environment, if we can then flip a 2023 first for a wide receiver who we know is producing, I would be very excited about that. Okay, Akers off the board at the 4-9. Thank God Akers and Travis Etienne are off. If we are looking at a draft board that had those two guys, I would probably be crying if we were just looking at the combination of Travis Etienne and Cam Akers. And Cutie coming out, taking George Kittle from us. I don't know if I want to be an ass. We're definitely taking Terry McLaurin. My thought process here is we have the drop off at wide receiver regardless. This team clearly snipes us taking Kittle when they want to have the combo of Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, and Justin Herbert. Do we take Justin Herbert at pick 49 to say F you for taking George Kittle from us? Or do we reach on Chris Godwin? Never snipe me. Never snipe me, buddy. I can go right back at you. Right back at you. Okay, let's find our next one. Our next question It's LB says, should I trade TJ Hawkinson for Cole Kmet? No, that'd be horrible. I love Cole Kmet. He is the second option in Chicago, but TJ Hawkinson, just a significantly better tight end prospect. Hawkinson has had back-to-back seasons as a mid-tight end one in fantasy. I don't necessarily think all of a sudden he's going to have some elite level breakout because, I mean, you do have Jameson Williams, DJ Chark coming over to Detroit. So instead of competing for targets with Khalif Raymond, he actually does have some serious target competition now, which isn't great for TJ Hawkinson. But come on, it's TJ Hawkinson versus Cole Kmet. Okay, so Robert says, a modified quarterback scoring in a Dynasty startup, a 6-point passing touchdown league, -3 points for an interception. How early should I expect the top quarterbacks to go? My man, this is almost identical to just a regular 4-point passing touchdown league. Like, I mean, if you're looking at the actual points per game and then value over replacement for a quarterback one versus a quarterback, you're not going to see that massive of a difference. I would say literally look at any 12-team Superflex quarterback mock, and it should be about in the same ballpark. Trey says, what would it take for you to feel good about Davis Mills' outlook past this season? This is a very difficult question to answer because Davis Mills could have a very good season and still lose his job going into next year. Like, it sucks to bring this up, but very similar to the running backs. When you have no team investment, when you have no pedigree, you really need to be elite. Like, the guys that people turn to, okay, every single offseason, if you talk down about someone with no draft capital, every single year, I will see in my comment section people going, oh, this clown doesn't know about Tom Brady. This clown doesn't know about Russell Wilson. This clown doesn't know about Dak Prescott. Well, what happened with those quarterbacks? They came in and they were elite immediately. Dak Prescott had MVP type conversations around him his rookie season. Do y'all remember that? Do y'all remember the hype that you had for the combination of Dak Prescott as well as Ezekiel Elliott, their rookie seasons? Like, that's what you have to do. That's what you have to keep that long-term job if you have no pedigree. So if Davis Mills had a season like that, if the Houston Texans are a wild card team and Davis Mills is a top 15 quarterback in adjusted yards per pass attempt, and the Cleveland Browns finish in a respectable range, so the Houston Texans don't have a shot at taking CJ Stroud or Bryce Young next year in the first round, that's what it would take. That's what it would take for me. Like, it's not like Davis Mills can come out and just be better than Trevor Lawrence and just be better than Zach Wilson and keep his job. No, you have to be a lot better. Okay, so now Drew says, should I hold on to the number one waiver wire priority for an in-season injury or use it on a backup running back now? I wish I knew the running backs that were available in your league, my man. I wish I knew how many teams were in your league. I wish I knew how many roster spots. I wish I knew who you were dropping. Like, broad questions like that it's impossible for me to answer. I mean, if Tyrion Davis-Price is sitting on your waiver wire in a 12-team league where you roster 25 guys, yeah, we should use that number one waiver wire pickup and we should go get Tyrion Davis-Price. However, if we were playing in a 10-team league where you roster 18 guys and the best option to pick up is Gus Edwards, no, we should probably hold on to that number one waiver wire claim. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Noah says, how high to value Isaiah Spiller as an Austin Eckler handcuff? Too much to trade up from the 207 to the 201/202 to secure him. I actually like the idea of going and getting Isaiah Spiller because he should have a small role in games that even Austin Eckler's healthy in. And if Eckler were to go down, as you've already mentioned, you do have the upside for Isaiah Spiller to all of a sudden to be more exciting than he currently is. So I like the idea overall. Now, what I will say is, I don't necessarily think when you have Eckler that you need to be handcuffing. Like, I don't like the idea of handcuffing our running backs because when we roster Austin Eckler, we go, okay, well, if this team's going to win, we probably need Austin Eckler to be a running back one. We probably need Austin Eckler to stay healthy. And if he doesn't, drafting Isaiah Spiller, it keeps us from being 10th place and instead we are 7th place. Instead we are 6th place. I'm not looking to roster my own running backs if we can get them at a value. If he ends up falling to the 207, sure, take him. Okay, Mr. Doku says, I've been offered Alvin Kamara for Isaiah Spiller and 2 future seconds. Is it dangerous to trade for someone with a court hearing looming? Yes, of course, there is some concern. There is a red flag on the horizon. But this price tag, Isaiah Spiller in 2 seconds versus it's Alvin Kamara. It's not even remotely close. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Dylan says, I traded A.J. Brown and Brandon Ayuk for a 2023 first and Terry McLaurin. A lot of people in my league think I got fleeced. What do you think? I think if it's a super flex format, I am happier about it because that first round pick's going to be, oh my God, are we really looking at Jalen Hurts available to us at pick 72? But that first round pick would be more exciting. I mean, if it's a 2023 first, I do prefer it over Ayuk. I prefer AJ Brown over Terry McLaurin. I do slightly prefer AJ Brown and Brandon Ayuk, but assuming it's a super flex format, I don't think it's horrible. And this sucks, ladies and gentlemen. If I knew Jalen Hurts would have fallen 8 picks past his ADP, we probably wouldn't have taken Justin Herbert. I can tell you we definitely would not have taken Justin Herbert. We easily have to go Amon-Ra St. Brown. I guess we're going to go Amon-Ra St. Brown and Dalton Schultz, and we're going to try to build around 2-5-9-2. That's our goal here. Let's go Amon-Ra St. Brown and Dalton Schultz. Quarterbacks, just massive values right now. I don't think we can take advantage of it whenever we start 3 running backs, and we really need to be able to roster at least 9 wide receivers. Okay, so now our next question. I think we just got a donation question, did we? Okay, Derek says, have you dropped a like yet? Thank you, Derek, of course, for always coming out to the live stream. And I am sorry, but I just checked that it is 5:30. I told my family I'd drive over and eat dinner with them tonight, so I'm moving in a couple of weeks. I really got to go spend as much time with them as I can. So I'm sorry. I am probably going to have to leave from this live stream halfway through this draft, but no worries. If you did not get your question answered, I do this every single day. If you did not get in a draft with us, I do this every single day. If you want to have some fun, you can go get in a draft literally right now. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK. You can find it in the description of the video. Go set up your account now so you get our Dynasty rankings. You get our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, over 130 pages. You get our Dynasty Rookie rankings. You get our 2022 rankings. And you get a 100% deposit match. And also, they have a special line right now with their player props that is essentially another free $25 where it's Steph Curry over under half a three-pointer. It's just a promo. They know they're losing money on it, but they're doing it to get you to sign up. Go sign up, then take that promo as well. Just get some more free money. But go set up that account. That way you're ready to go next time we do this live stream and you can hop in and draft with us. But thank you again. I truly appreciate all y'all. I hope you have a great day, and I hope we get to see you with the live stream